Prepare to puke when you see whose plans have just been leaked to run against Trump, and they're serious. Some people just don't know when to take a hint. Wikileaks founder Julian Assange made headlines this week when put out a tweet saying that he believes crooked Hillary Clinton is getting ready for a third presidential run after her failed campaigns in 2008 and 2016 left her out in the cold. Yes, folks, this is not a joke. And seeing as how Hillary Clinton can't seem to understand people just don't like her as a person, she pops up everywhere these days. Like a bad case of the croup, I wouldn't be surprised if Assange is spot on. God help us. The Washington Post reports, Hillary 2020? Trump better hope not. Why Hillary Clinton would be well positioned to win in a rematch. Michael Brenes is a historian and the Senior Archivist for American Diplomacy at Yale University, where he is currently writing a biography of Hubert Humphrey. On October 16, 11 months after defeating her, President Trump tweeted another of his regular insults about his 2016 opponent, Democrat Hillary Clinton. Sandwiched between boasts about his presumed role in the stock market's rise and his rally in South Carolina, Trump wrote, "I was recently asked if crooked Hillary Clinton is going to run in 2020. My answer was, I hope so." Putting aside the reckless braggadocio and blatant sexism inherent in such a statement, the entire scenario seemed absurd. Most pundits, and most of the American public, discount the idea of Clinton running in 2020, doubtful she could win the Democratic nomination, let alone the election, after her stunning loss to Trump. Clinton herself has stated that her political career is over, that she is more interested in speaking out against Trump as a private citizen. Nevertheless, Trump should be careful what he wishes for. Clinton might not be a potential candidate now, but the political winds can change quickly. Recent American history is rife with presidential contenders who lost the primary or general election and then went on to become a candidate in subsequent elections. Dissatisfied with the politics of the day, lured by name recognition and pre-existing loyalties, the public gave each of these candidates multiple chances at the presidency and handed several the keys to the White House. Add to that Trump's abysmally low approval ratings and inability to deliver on signature campaign promises, building a border wall, ending NAFTA, and repealing the Affordable Care Act, to name a few, and Clinton could once more emerge as a serious challenger. Political comebacks, even seemingly impossible ones, are actually regular occurrences in modern American politics. Richard Nixon remains the most famous example. Nixon narrowly lost to John F. Kennedy in the 1960 election. Only about 110,000 votes nationwide separated them. Then ran for governor of California in 1962, only to lose that election. Nixon told the press after his defeat in 1962 that he was done with politics. "You don't have Nixon to kick around anymore," he proclaimed. But when Lyndon Johnson trounced conservative Republican Barry Goldwater in 1964, LBJ won all but 6 states, Nixon recast himself as the person best able to unite the factions within the GOP. Nixon's chances were bolstered by a widespread opposition to the Vietnam War that fueled voters' desire for a change in the White House. Nixon also courted Southern whites who traditionally voted Democrat, dismayed over civil rights legislation and urban riots in the 1960s. Nixon ran for president again in 1968, capturing the Republican nomination and then the presidency. Ronald Reagan shifted the Republican Party back to the right in 1980, but it wasn't his first bid for the presidency. John Kennedy was already the clear favorite among Democratic delegates. Another Democratic candidate in 1960, Minnesota Senator Hubert Humphrey, was considered by members of his party to be too liberal for the presidency. Humphrey lost to the more moderate Kennedy in the 1960 primary, where he was outmatched by Kennedy's money and political swagger. However, by 1968, now Vice President Humphrey was the nominee. Humphrey lost in 1968 for the same reason Nixon won: Vietnam. Voters viewed Humphrey as a patsy of Johnson and the war he, and Democrats, made. Humphrey went from the leading liberal to the liberals' worst problem in 8 short years. Humphrey ran again in 1972, but the 1968 election, and the chaos at the Democratic Convention in Chicago that year, cast a pall over his liberal legacy, and the more left-wing George McGovern received the nomination. These are just a few examples from post-war American history. If Americans, including Trump, looked back further, they would find William Jennings Bryan, who was nominated 3 times for the Democratic ticket, 1896, 1900, and 1908, or Democrat Al Smith, who lost the nomination in 1924 but won it in 1928 and overcame white nationalist, anti-Catholic sentiments in the process. Not to mention Republican Theodore Roosevelt, who ran on the Progressive Party ticket in 1912 after leaving politics in 1909. Clinton could easily be counted among this distinguished group. In fact, she already is, having lost the Democratic nomination in 2008. Clinton still retains significant support within her party, and Democrats currently have no clear frontrunner to replace her. Clinton and her husband, former President Bill Clinton, have numerous financial backers willing to support her campaign, and the former nominee has a vibrant, large, motivated base of supporters angry at Trump, Russian interference in the election, and former FBI Director James B. Comey in their minds, the collective robbers of Clinton's presidency. Moreover, as Trump hates to be reminded, Clinton won the popular vote. While Trump welcomes a Clinton challenge in 2020, he may find himself regretting it if voters come to believe they made a mistake and look to Clinton to rectify the wrong. Like Nixon and Reagan, Clinton can win the presidency in 2020 thanks to a combination of demographic and electoral shifts among voters and uncertainty about their futures. If Trump pulls Americans into a new economic recession or an unpopular war or fails to follow through on his rhetoric, which looks likely, Hillary Clinton's time out of office might prove temporary. It would not be the first time in American history. Are you freaking kidding me? Is the Washington Compost consulting the same polls who 2 days before the 2016 election had crooked Hillary leading by over 10 percentage points? We all know the Democrat Party has no one. They are in fact a dying party. The only person who stands a chance to win in that party is the crazy dinosaur socialist Bernie Sanders, who hasn't bathed since the late 70s. And even that would be a tough race because of the fact that most moderate Democrats, the ones that are left at least, would never vote for a self-proclaimed socialist who has never worked on an honest day in his life. The Democrats might very well have to run Hillary, and if they do, it will be fun watching her lose again. After she does, maybe she can write a new book titled, "What Happened?" Part 2. This woman really needs to get some help ASAP. She can't seem to grasp the fact that she just doesn't matter anymore, but sadly for some unknown reason, many people love her husband, former President Bill sexual predator Clinton. One credit you do have to give her though. Like President Trump said during their final debate, she is persistent. Please share if you want Hillary Clinton to run in 2020.